Well, we're back on live again. Brenden, good to see you again, buddy. How are you?
Good to see you.
It's Monday night. That means Shane Matthews is going to be on the air. So looking forward. He's standing by in the orange and blue room. I'll get his take on a few things, not the least of which is Bill Carr, the guy he knew quite well. So, ready to do this?
Well, who else is going to be on?
Franz Beard.
Well, I better get my drink for him, so we'll have that, and we'll be ready to go in the old studio. Make sure you like the show. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button down there at the bottom, and that helps us bring this content to you free and clear.
Martin and Martin, standing by.
All right, we'll be back right after these beautiful graphics.
It's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking, but be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Hello, welcome back to the program. The guy on the right is Shane Matthews. I am Buddy Martin here, and the guy on this side is Brenden Martin. Good evening to you guys on a Monday night. It's cold here, Shane. Is it cold there?
It's cold in Ocala?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, he's
I don't
cold.
know. I haven't been outside. I haven't been outside since about 6 o'clock, so I don't know if it's cold outside or not.
What do you call cold?
Like 40 or below?
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
I'm flying his face up and down because he's all facial.
Why are you doing
Well, I'm trying to fix all your stuff now that you brought it back to the shop. So I got everything to try to fix it up. You got everything all bent out of shape. So
okay, let's complain a little bit about it while we're at it. All right, let's do this Monday night. Hey, Shane, before we get started, I'll get back to you on the subject. But you said on your show today, I saw the cut. It's simple. We got to get players. You got to have money to get players. And they'll either come here, you got to win, or you got money, right? And you said this is as simple as that. Right? Now what you said?
I don't know if that was on my show today. We didn't talk.
Well,
You talking about it
on the air? On the air today, I heard it, saw it somewhere.
Yeah, it must have been something that the guys posted from another show because we didn't even talk NIL today at all.
Okay, all right. Well, see, you're fooling us because you don't even know what shows you do anymore. You do
Well, I know my show, but I don't. I know they take clips from the different shows and post it. But today, all we talked about was how bad the weekend was with no golf, and I had Mike Morgan. All we talked was basketball.
Well, let's get to basketball in a minute because there was another heartache for the Gators this time at College Station, a game they had in hand. But before we get to that, let's just talk. Let me give you a chance to go on the record and get it straight. What exactly did you say? How do you feel? Is that pretty much cut and dried? As simple as this? We got to win or we got to give them money, right?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. But I mean, guys are going to other programs that may not be winning for more money. It's all about the dollars. I don't care what anybody says. I've talked to enough coaches around the country at every level. When kids go somewhere else, majority of the time is they've been offered more money.
Okay. It's capitalism. That's the way it is. And
yeah, but I mean, it's no different. It's no different than, buddy, if you were working at the local paper in Ocala and the paper in Jacksonville offer you more money, you're probably going to go to Jacksonville.
It's called capitalism. I understand that.
Yeah.
It's just a little more blatant than we all thought, and we're not understanding the rules. And we're also
There are no rules.
Right. Well, you said this, so you said I've been trying to tell people there's a lot of money in Ole Miss, and they got deep pockets up there, and people don't believe me. So explain.
Well, they have a lot of money. I mean, think about when Hugh Freeze was the coach there. They had multiple violations for paying players when it was not illegal. They went and got Chris Beard, who's one of the highly touted basketball coaches in America, got in a little bit of trouble supposedly, but they go and hire him. He brings in a bunch of transfers. Look, there are plenty of schools that have a lot of money. They just not those people just may not want to spend their money on athletes, which there's nothing wrong with that. I would ask you, buddy, if you were a big time donor at School X, would you want to give your money to athletes that you're not even sure if they're going to play at a high level?
Well, I mean, it's no different than what it was when the days that people gave money to players and it just wasn't legal.
Right. But what I'm saying though is,
chances,
if you were one of those guys, if you were a wealthy businessman,
mm-hmm.
would you participate in giving money to athletes that you don't even know if your return on investment is going to get you any wins?
Answer is me, yes, I would.
Okay.
I'm not saying I give a lot, but I would give money to help my university. And here's the thing. Here's what you have to know. I hate it when people say we, when they're reporters, they're journalists, objective. Well, we didn't play well. We didn't always say, did you play in the game? Because it's not we unless you did. So that is true. However, in this case, the way it's shaping up, it is we. This is a we thing to be a part of this whole thing with Florida. And I hate it when my school is trailing behind. And I hate it when they get caught with their pants down or they get caught overplaying their hand. So I don't know exactly what happened in the beginning. I know some stories I've heard. But let me give you an example. I think finally tomorrow we're going to hear some news about Florida victorious that makes some sense. Because in my mind, I've dealt with the other group before as well. They didn't do a good job of getting the word out there about what it was and didn't get the ask, which is we need money. And that's really the question. You have to do that today. Unless you have it built in, you have multi-millions anywhere. I think they're going to do a much better job. I know the guy who may be running it, and I'm very excited about what they may be doing in the future.
Yeah, I hope it works out. I don't know what the confusion is, though, quite honestly. Now, I'm not just talking about Florida victorious. I'm talking about how people don't understand what NIL is and that the university does not pay the players. If Buddy Martin writes a $10,000 check to the university or to Gator Boosters, that has nothing to do with NIL. You have to write that check to Florida victorious. Okay. I mean, why is that confusing? I just don't understand.
I think what's confusing is how he started out not understanding the rules. Because the way it was explained, the way I understood it is that no, you can't use this for recruiting. That was clearly stated in the beginning. You can't influence players to go there with your money. Well, that turned out not to be the truth. And so from there, we went to a kind of a helter-skelter, getting people in who had ghost money, telling guys they were going to pay them money and couldn't pay it. All over the place. It was just a mess. And Dan was trying to get a hold of somebody who could straighten out this whole thing. Who knows how they need a pitch man, Shane. Like Coach Spurrier was a pitch man, Someone to say, hey, come on, we can do this, need your help. Someone to speak for the school, the players, the pride, whatever. And I think now they're getting it on the right, getting the right people in line to say, come on, this is a family. Let's cough up some money and let's help the program. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. It's how I feel. They have not done a good job of explaining who they are and what the mission is and how the money is being used.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just know that it's very simple. When you donate your money to Gator Boosters, that's going to scholarships and to facilities upgrades. When you donate your money to Florida Victorious, it's going to the student athletes.
Well, maybe you should be the pitch man.
No, thank you.
Well, you know it. You seem to explain it well.
Well, I mean, that's And I could be wrong, but that's the way that I've understood it, and it's
Okay,
about as
you're,
simple as you can put it.
you're a
Because
lot
you know,
smarter than we are.
because here's the thing, and like I said, I could be wrong, but the huge uproar about when we were going to renovate the stadium, and I don't even know where that stands. But people are like, "Why do you want to spend money on that when NIL, blah blah blah?" Those are two separate things. They have nothing to do with it. Like I said, Buddy Martin can donate money for facility upgrades, or Buddy Martin can donate his money to go to athletes' pockets.
Okay.
That's the way they should describe it.
Okay. What I wanted to say, it's been a long time since we've had some clarity on the NIL deals in Florida. And it's kind of been a monotonous period of anonymity and sort of non-disclosure. They weren't saying much about Florida Victorious and what it is, where it's going. I think this announcement we're going to hear in the next 24 hours will break that logjam and provide some leadership to tell people. Because, Shane, it's the old thing when it's the art of writing a story. When you write a story, you tell somebody you're going to tell them. You tell them, and then you tell them you told them. Bill Parcells told me a story one time many years ago when he was coaching at Wichita State. And he had a back of some kind or other who had problems pass blocking. But he coached him up and spent a lot of time on the drill, make sure he knew how to do the blitz drill. And he really coached him up and coached him. Got in the game. On the third play of the game, the guy blitzed and the quarterback went flying and the ball went flying. And Parcells pulled him out of the game and was screaming in his face. I mean, screaming in his face about not listening and not being taught. And the coach, whose name I wish I knew and don't remember, older guy, called him over and said, "Coach Parcells, we get it. He didn't really understand the assignment." And Parcells says, "I don't understand it. I told him once, twice, three times, and he still didn't get it." And the coach said, "Well, coach, you should have told him 5, 6, and 7 times. You can't overemphasize that kind of thing too much." It's the same way in money. People don't understand it. I was part of a project here in town, which we saved the Marion Theater. We told them over and over and over again, they didn't even know there were movies being shown there. So the lack of understanding of the public is not brand new. And it takes a while for some. Some people get it right away, some don't, but you got to keep pitching. You have to get exposure. You have to have you have to get the word out. Shane, if I told you tomorrow I got a new product, let's say that I got this new super speaker that you can hear all over your house, and it brings you music from around the world, and it's only $99 for the rest of your life. Okay, I would have to get that word out to get that money. I can't say it one time. I got to say it a whole bunch of times. So how am I going to do it? I'll go to the station. The program has the highest visibility. Get as many ears and eyeballs on as I can, and keep talking about it. So finally they say, "Yeah, I want that super speaker. I heard Buddy Martin talking about it." So you need to keep telling the story. I think they've got a guy in place who I hope to have on the show tomorrow night who will help be telling that story. And maybe when people understand it, maybe they will open some deeper pockets.
Well, hopefully that'll be the case for sure. I do know that I read somewhere where Dartmouth's players now they're employees of the university or something that I thought I saw on Twitter. So who knows? I don't know. It's a mess regardless. It's a mess like I thought it was going to be. And it's just, I don't know. It's a mess.
As Judd Davis said, his son used to kick for Dartmouth. He did, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I just got passed today.
No, I'm just saying he would know the history of it, though. Yeah, I'm looking. That's a whole other topic, a whole other show about the unions and whether they flourish. I mean, I don't know enough about it to discuss it, but clearly some things are going to be changed. So anyway, all right. So on and upward to other things. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the basketball game? You want to talk about some of the changes around SEC football? What do you want to talk about tonight?
We can talk about whatever people want to talk about.
What did you talk about this morning on your show?
We talked about basketball. It was a tough loss. You got to give A&M a lot of credit. They came from behind at home. You could say we blew a lead, but I try to look at it both ways, buddy. It was a tough loss. We had opportunities at the end to knock down some shots. If Riley Kugel catches the back door, he lays it up, and we probably win the game. But he fumbled it. But Buzz Williams coaches. A&M's got good players. They made a run, and they found a way to win at home.
That's a tough one to be up by that much and be playing so well. They really played well in the first half. That's the team you want to see out there. And if they ever get all their hit shooters, Walter Clayton, they shut him down. He was throwing air balls up there. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I'm not criticizing him. I'm saying he was not. If he just would have hit one basket, one tough loss. I'm impressed with this team how they played against Kentucky at Rupp. How they played on the road out at A&M. I think they got some juice left, but it was a tough loss for the basketball program at a time when they certainly could use a little help. Could get a little boost there.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have told you 2 weeks ago if we could go 1-1 on that road trip, everybody would take it. Had opportunity to be 2-0, didn't work out. Now all you got to do is beat Auburn at home, and I think we will.
All right, Shane, what are you hearing around the SEC and coaching changes? It's still making big changes. I heard Brian Kelly's made 3 staff changes in recent days. He just defensive line coach John Jancic, no longer with the Tigers. It was confirmed today. So another change. There are a lot of coaches being changed out here. Why is that, do you think? So late.
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that, we saw the Boston College head coach taking a coordinator job in the NFL.
Like you said, getting out of going back towards an easier life in the NFL.
You're going to see more and more of that. And I still firmly believe that's why Nick Saban retired, is because of the NIL.
Probably would have driven your coach out too, Spurrier, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin Steele basically, who was at Alabama, told a story that I heard online the other day when he was sitting recruiting kids that they wanted to come play for Saban, blah, blah, blah. But how much money? Coach, y'all are about $100,000 less than this school. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all agents right now. That's what it's about. All right, let's do this. Let's do a little Freddie Weeby. Let's do a Meldon Law spot. Come back, Shane. I want to get him to talk a little bit about a guy he knew a little bit, Bill Carr, who passed away. I had a chance to talk to Bill recently, quite a long time. Let's get his thoughts about that. And how should a life be remembered? Someone who's been of service like Bill Carr. But first, this message from Meldon Law, Second Opinion. Jeffrey, you do a show where you get asked a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it. In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV, but after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You don't get shuffled off to somebody else. You get to see a Meldon, and that's good to know, because a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff, like me. And maybe you can coach us through. So Meldon Law, they won't back down. They will take your questions about your case if you have a question.
Yes, whether it's a new case or an existing case, give us a call. We'd be glad to go over it with you. There's no charge to review your case with you. And a lot of times it makes good sense just to get a second opinion.
Good stuff from Meldon Law. They don't back down, but they will give you a second opinion. Program. It's a Monday night, Meldon Law Monday. Thanks for that. I want to talk about a guy that had a huge impact at the University of Florida. Many people don't know anything about him. I had a chance to talk at length with his roommate over the weekend, Steve Spurrier. I'm talking about Bill Carr, who was the athletic director. Not only was he the athletic director, he came out of pro football and went into work as an associate AD or an assistant AD and worked his way up the ladder. And when they made all the changes and when Coach Gray stepped down, and he became the AD. Bill was an extremely smart man, all academic every year. Talking to Coach Spurrier about him, he said they roomed together, and he said we would come in from partying, and Bill would either be asleep or be in or praying. He wasn't a drinker. He said in all the years I knew Bill, I never saw him with a drink in his hand, whatever you want to make of that. But anyway, he was an all-academic guy. He was a member of an organization that of athletic directors. He was considered to be one of the forward-thinking guys. And he was I always liked him because he was smart, and he was kind of a half a beat ahead of the rest of the people. He kind of kept up with what's going on. What happened to him is that the administration felt like he didn't crack down hard enough on Charlie Pell and let him get away with things, got him in trouble. So he wound up losing his job. But he became he was an athletics administrator and executive search manager. For a while, he worked for Raycom on TV. And here's the thing to remember. Reportedly, Bill Carr took over a Gator athletic program that was $700,000 in the red. And by the time he stepped down 7 years later, they had $13 million. So good job by Bill Carr. And I just want to remember him in a way that we should remember him. I didn't realize that he was from Gainesville, actually. Wound up going to Pensacola and came right here and stepped in. And Coach Spurrier told me this little fact. In the 4 years they played together, they played freshman ball. He said, I don't recall ever having a mishandled snap, and he had every snap under center. I don't know what that says, but it sounds impressive, doesn't it, Shane?
Yeah, it's sad. Bill Carr was. I kind of knew him, but obviously, he did a lot of coaching searches for different firms and things of that nature. And I talked with him with some different coach friends of mine, and I knew one of his sons, Scotty Carr, who I think's the AD. He was at Southern Miss for a while. I think he's at FIU now. But yeah, he's part of that silver 60s during Coach Spurrier's era. I got to know a lot of those guys, and it just seems like we're losing too many of them.
As you get older, and Shane, you had a great career there in Florida and still have in what you're doing. But do you get a little nostalgic sometimes, some of those guys that you knew, and as they kind of fade out and we lose them?
Yeah, also Alonzo Johnson, the All-American linebacker, passed last weekend. I didn't know Alonzo, but it's crazy. There's several teammates of mine that we've lost years ago. Godfrey Miles, Tim Paulk, those really good players. Mm-hmm. It's you just never know, man. It's life is short, as they say.
It is. And today, in talking with someone about the event we're going to put on in April at Spurrier's Ground Grill with Coach Spurrier and Urban Meyer, with people to come and be a part of it and learn more about what they did at Florida, how they were so successful for a charity deal. I was talking with the organizers, of which I'm helping, and they said, how about we push this to next year? It might be better. And I said, you know what? I don't buy green bananas at my age. Things change fast. In recent years, I've had several events, heard things that people have said, let's wait till next year, and never came to next year. They were gone. And so another situation was with Bill Carr. I spoke to the quarterback club in Gainesville by late November. And when it was over, he stayed and sat at my table. And clearly he wanted to talk. And he said, I'd like to sit down with you sometime and tell you a story about what's happening and why it's happening and how we could have staved off this problem probably with NIL. I said, sure, Bill, I'd like to do that. He said, I was part of a group of ADs. He said, should have seen it coming. because when the Olympic athletes started getting paid, that's when college football players should have started getting paid. He said, and we didn't react on it, and we were late to the party. As a result, it became what it is now. He says, and I was complicit in that too as well. I said, well, Bill, I would look forward to getting with you and talking about that because I didn't realize that. As we know, Coach Spurrier was very active in trying to get that done, but we didn't get a chance to do that. So anyway, like I say, we've got events going on, and this event will take place sometime on a Monday at Spurrier's Grind Grill, and we're going to have the greatest coaches in Florida football history. There's going to be one exclusive party that costs a little gathering that costs more money. All money going to charity. And then we have another larger group, and we'll have a special guest. And Coach Spurrier and Coach Meyer will share their knowledge with us. I'll tell you more about it when I know it, when it's going to happen, what it's called. I look forward to that. Just getting in the company of two guys like that, Shane, and just listening to what they have to say and how they did it. As we go on in years and look back at how precious that was, very important to log that down.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, that'll be a great night.
Here's a different take on Kentucky. They got a 5-star quarterback in Brock Vandegrift now, okay? Looking for a new offensive coordinator again for the 4th consecutive offseason. Now, part of that is the testimony of getting the right guys and hiring them and people wanting them. But UK was 116th nationally in total offense in 2022 and 100th last season. In 11 seasons, Stoops has fielded only one top 50 offense, 2021, when the Cats were 47. So that whole thing on offense is important to keep that thing rolling because once it stops, Shane, it's hard to get it going again.
Yeah, one of the offense coordinator, Leah Cohen, he's been there multiple times and left to the NFL, came back, and now he's left again. I mean, I can't remember Kentucky ever being worth very, very good on offense except back when Mike Leach was there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know who they're going to hire. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. How do you like the way the offenses are shaping up now in the SEC, Shane? Do you see anything you like or don't like in trends? We know Georgia has a balanced offense. Some guys turn around more. Lane Kiffin ought to be having an interesting offense this year. What do you see foreseeing as a guy who played the quarterback position and studied these teams? Do you see any trends on offense?
I mean, everybody's pretty much running the same stuff. I haven't really looked at it since the season ended, but I can't. I mean, the only team that was doing something different was when Leach was there running the air raid, but everybody tries to run the same type of stuff for the most part.
If you're in the SEC now, what kind of offense would you run? The same thing, probably, right?
Yeah, I'd do what everybody else is doing. You know, look, it all comes down to knowing when to call plays and if you call them at the right time and if your guys execute. That's simple. Now,
You're a good play caller. You're a good play caller. And I just want to say,
has the same play.
Yeah, I know we talked about this when you were coaching the pro team. You had to sit back and watch another guy calling plays, and you knew he was not calling the offense right. And when you got a chance to go in there and change it, and change the rhythm and change the ways of doing it, you started being successful. To your mind, other than things we talked about, like timing and knowledge, what are the keys of being a really good play caller?
Having a feel of what your guys can and cannot do. It may not be what you like. You got to do what they like and what they're good at. That's the biggest thing. And then it all comes down to situations, knowing different areas of the field, when to call certain things. And sometimes you got to roll the dice and it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, for sure. And are there some go-to plays for you? You know, plays you like to in certain situations?
Well, I think you have 5 to 10 staple plays in your offense that, you know, whether you need to throw some type of completion, you call that type of play. If you want to take a shot on a certain corner, I mean, it's all on your sheet, you know. But Most people, your base offense is about 10 plays, and then you build off that.
All right. Hold on one second, Shane. Hey, Brenden, I need help. I'm getting Franz up here. I can't get him up. Okay. All right, one more last one for Shane. I think we got Franz waiting in the wings here. I thought I heard him in. Let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, about betting. I love those proposition bets when we get them. They're fun. And I read this today and about the San Francisco 49ers at the first truly major wager. Caesars Sports reported that a customer in Michigan put $1 million on the 49ers on the money line, minus 120. It's the first reported seven-figure wager in the Super Bowl odds market, but it surely won't be the last. If the 49ers beat the Chiefs, the bettors will profit. Guess how much they would get? They would get $833,000 plus the million for a payout of $1,833,333.33. Don't forget 33 cents. That boggles my mind, Franz, and Shane.
Well,
that's chump change for you, Bud Light. We know that. You just write them a check.
Yeah, that sounds like Mattress Mac, the guy that owns all the mattress places.
Yeah.
He always, if the Houston Texans were in it, he'd be betting a couple $1 million on them.
He would. What was that crazy bet he made a couple years ago? Remember?
He does it every year on the Astros. He won with the Astros a couple years ago over $1 million, and then I think he lost $1 million this past year when the Astros lost to the Rangers. No, that would have been in the ALCS. I don't remember, but Mattress Mac bets millions of dollars.
What's your favorite proposition bet, Shane?
I have not looked at them, buddy. I wouldn't.
Well, you know the same ones every year. Franz, you remember some of those bets. Besides,
what the heck? Take tails.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I always like this one. Who's going to catch the first pass that goes for a first down or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of when I lived in Taiwan and the park across the street. All of a sudden, these two Mercedes come up. These people put up. They bring this little. Seems like a cardboard cylinder. They put it down. And they have fighting crickets. Honest to goodness, they're like grasshoppers like this.
I'd bet on that. I'd bet on fighting crickets.
Let me tell you what. I was told that day $10,000 changed hands.
How about that?
We got one of the grasshoppers ate the other one.
Uh-oh.
And
not good.
People sit there. Chinese people, as I learned in Taiwan, will bet on anything. And if they were to get a large portion of people here in the United States with money, they would bet on the Super Bowl like crazy. They may be already.
Could be. Shane, before I let you go, I don't quite understand the Bill Belichick story. I know he can't get hired. By the way, his son was hired today by the Washington Huskies as defensive coordinator. He worked with Jed Fish in 2020, and he's now was the Patriots quarterback coach. Why do you think? Would you hire Bill Belichick, Shane? And why do you think nobody is?
That's a great question. I haven't really thought about it, but if I had a choice between Andy Reid or Bill Belichick as my coach, I'm taking Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I think Andy Reid is clearly the better football coach. He's done more with less. Belichick, he had a good run with Brady, but he's done nothing since.
Great
Andy Reid has done it with multiple players at quarterback.
Good point. Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. You did. Yeah.
But I think these people are wanting younger coaches too for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's definitely playing against him. Andy Reid. Remember, he got fired by the Eagles.
Power off.
So that also. All right, Shane. I know you got to go get your milk and cookies tonight. I'll see you in the morning on the show. Pot up with Matthews, every morning. This is your favorite Gators subject. It'll be Shane Matthews, and I'll be on the show tomorrow if you'll have me. Shane?
Yep. It'll be, buddy, you're leading off for Tim Walton, so
oh boy,
make sure you do a good job.
I got to lay down a butt single and get on base.
That's right.
All right, Shane Matthews, put up with Matthews. Appreciate it, buddy. Francis Beard, how are you, my friend?
Another day in paradise, Bud Light.
Well, I want to get to this basketball team. They've been heartbreakers. What a wonderful start they had out in College Station. And some of the guys stepped up in big time. And I love the way this team off boards goes to the glass. They just are special in that regard. And they're going to be really good, some of these young players. But it was a heartbreaker to give that one away, Franz. Heartbreaker.
Well, I don't know they so much gave it away as much as they had it taken away from them.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Lindsay just showed why he's the most inconsistent official in the college game today. I've never liked him, despite a certain group of people who seem to think he's a terrific official. I've never seen him call games with consistency. Here's what happened, buddy, and this is quite interesting. Here, I've got it right here on my handy dandy play sheet that I keep a play by play on. Right after Florida scores a second consecutive 3-pointer by Will Richard to go up 46-34. There is a play in which Wade Taylor goes driving the lane, gets kneed in the thigh by his own player, and he goes down. The Gators take the ball down the court. It's 5-on-4. Joe Lindsay calls timeout because there's a guy.
That was a bad play. That was a very bad play by him.
Horrendous. Todd Golden argues. Now, granted, there's nothing he can do about it at that point. They've already stopped the play. Mm-hmm. But here's what happens. Over the next 2 minutes, they shoot 7 free throws. Boom, 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 like that. Florida got 2 free throws the rest of the game. They shot 20 free throws in the second half. Florida shot those 2. The last 2, 13 minutes, 36 seconds to go. Will Richard hit 2. And on the 2 that he got fouled. It was an absolute mugging. There are people doing hard time in Rayford for less. And it was only good for 2 shots. So, but
yeah.
Todd made some comments on the way back, and he said, for example, there was a dunk there by Riley Kugel toward the end of the game. Let's see, I've got it here. 4 minutes 39 seconds.
Massive play. Yeah.
Yeah. But he got bracketed on the play. I mean, he got hammered. No foul on there. Vander, did our man step out of bounds? No. And I have put it on my iPad, blown it up. Todd's done it.
But you couldn't really see an angle on that. I mean, I could see how it's a no call because really, I mean, he made the call. He couldn't reverse it. There's not enough evidence to reverse it or whatever.
There was, buddy.
But fans, you couldn't see from there. You couldn't see it from that angle. Where did you see an angle that showed that?
I have blown it up on my iPad, and I
don't think it was a matter of blowing it up. It's a matter of how the angle was. You couldn't tell if that heel touched or not. He could have gone either way. I'm not defending the official, but he called it as out of bounds. There was not enough evidence to show that it wasn't. That's my only thing.
Even the people announcing the game said they're probably going to do it like this, but he did not step out of bounds. He didn't.
Okay, well,
period.
Matter of opinions, I guess. But there were a lot of things like that. I mean, the bottom line was A&M was more aggressive in the final minutes than Florida was, and that's what cost them the game. That's why they got to the line.
Even with all that, even as rotten as Joe Lindsay, Rob Rourke, and Olandis Poole were, and they sucked, even as bad as that, Florida only has to make 2 free throws out of the 11
True.
they shot, and
True.
they win.
That's
They
right.
only have to make 1 3-pointer, and they win. They only have to get 1 stop defensively, and they win.
Yeah.
So, granted, the officials sucked, and that's the only way to put it, is they sucked. Joe Lindsey shouldn't be allowed to call a junior high game.
Yeah.
But they sucked, and even so, Florida could have won the ball game. That's a sign of a good team, buddy.
That's true. I agree with you. All right, let's agree on that. We agree on that. I'm going to give you something, a glowing stat from Florida Gators. You'll never guess where it came from last year. But first, I want to tell you about Titan MRI. Titan MRI is worth the short drive to Gainesville. No insurance is no problem. You can pay with cash or card with same-day scheduling available. So start feeling better today about MRIs, because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Check them out. Come see while hundreds of people are visiting the Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, the villages. That's TitanMRI.com. All right, here's a stat for you. It's hard to read this. Final SEC stat leaderboard, yards per punt. All right. Number 5, Oscar Chapman, Auburn, 44.6. 4, Max Fletcher, Arkansas, 46.9. Number 3, James Burnham, Alabama, 47.6. 2, Matt Hayball, Vanderbilt, 47.6. And who's number 1?
Our guy.
Jeremy Crawshaw, Florida, 48.9.
Would have been second nationally if he had had enough punts.
Enough punts, yeah. So there's something to think about in a positive manner. You don't normally think of the punter as being a huge asset, but if they ever start playing better defense, they certainly will be. Talk to me about the thing you leaked earlier tonight about you expect some guy out of Texas, a quarterback, to beat Florida to get him. Be a transfer.
I think
What's
I understand. I've been told he's on Florida's radar. He is a corner out of Texas, San Antonio. He's out of Landry Walker High School, which is in the 9th Ward of New Orleans, which is Jabbar Jalouk owns the 9th Ward. Florida recruited him. Dapier and Ron Roberts recruited him in 1999 when he was at in high school. So this is a guy that has been, that they know. I think they've got to have one more corner. I think most everybody agrees that they really need one more. And this is the kind of guy that may fly under a lot of radars, but you know what? Sometimes those are the guys that work the best for you. Hang on a second, I'll get a name for you on it. It slips my mind off the top of my head. But I'll have it for you in a second here. Oh yeah. DeJuan Griffin out of UT San Antonio. Yeah. He's 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot, 180, 190 pounds. Has really good, consistent stats during his his collegiate career at UT San Antonio. And, you can't beat experience in this game, buddy. And this is a guy that you get, maybe not bringing him in expecting that he's going to start, but, you need 6-7 guys to rotate in and out because of people play these multiple formations. They go 3, 4, 5 wide sometimes. So you've got to be able to have a lot of corners, and Florida needs one. I'm writing about this today for tomorrow, that Wednesday is National Signing Day. I do not expect the Gators to get. They may get a straggler. I think mostly when Billy announces it's going to be about his the pickup of the defensive tackle Griffin Robinson out of Texas, who got out of his LOI, or Jameer Grimsley, who signed with Alabama but left when Nick retired. And it'll be about those two guys and the portal. But, you never know. They may pick up a straggler. There was a time, buddy, when the first Wednesday in February was the day people took off work.
I remember it. I remember it well.
And they've killed it. There's a really interesting article by Ari Wasserman in The Athletic today about when they're talking with coaches and personnel people about what they would change in recruiting. By and large, everybody seems to think one of two things. If a kid wants to sign, let him sign. If he wants to sign in June, let him sign in June. If he wants to commit in September, let him sign then. Get it out of the way instead of having this early signing period. This early signing period, it creates a twofold problem. You got to devote your time to saving the high school class, as Florida found out. Florida lost a lot of kids. Florida lost 3 or 4 guys that were like 4 and 5 star kids, and I think part of it had to do with the fact the portal opens up, and you can't give as much time. You got to devote your time to the portal. Coaches would like to see December set aside for the portal. Okay. And there's no getting around that, because you got school starts in the first week in January in most places. So you've got to get these guys signed in the portal so they get enrolled in time in January. So let the high school kids sign. One of the best recommendations I've seen is have your national early signing period in like July, the end of July. Have it then. And if you want to sign, and if you can't decide then you have to wait until February. So,
well, it makes sense the fact they can get out of these things anyway so easily. It seems like let's let them go ahead and sign it, and they want to change later.
Exactly. I mean, what's to hold a kid anymore? And I don't know.
No, really.
We have free agency. Our friend Bill Carr, who passed away, lamented this, and I think the toothpaste is out of the tube, so to speak. So there is no going back on it. Kids are going to be allowed to transfer.
Yeah.
But Bill was totally, he thought it was a bad idea. Mm-hmm. Bill held to the idea, and I called him the last Boy Scout. And in so many respects he was. But he held to the idea, and these days and times, maybe it's this glorious idea of things that will never be again, that there was something to the amateur status. There was something to going to school in exchange for a scholarship, and you got to get a college education. He made points about being, you make friends for life, teammates for life, all these things that are no longer here. You think about, buddy, you come in here with a recruiting class, and half the recruiting class is going to transfer out. Yeah. There's something wrong with that. I mean, there really is.
We both chose to write about Bill Carr. Somebody told me it was overkill. I don't think so. You have to understand the importance of people and the role they played in your university. Bill had a knack for seeing the future. He also was an honest guy. He gave the best he had to give. His integrity was through the roof. He drew a nasty hand, having to try to fix things after the Charlie Pell situation. So I know that probably most people say, who cares? Bill Carr, who's he? Well, I care, and I remember him. And like you told about this today, about how your last conversation. I wrote about my column once about my last conversation was when I spoke at the quarterback club in Gainesville in late November. And he hung around until it was over. And then he said to me, I'd like to sit down and talk with you sometime and tell you about what happened to us back in the early days. A bunch of us ADs should have seen NIL coming. We could have headed it off if we'd done something then. And he talks about how when the Olympic athletes started getting paid, whatever year that was, 2000, whatever, is that when that's when Florida, when other schools should have started paying NIL then, and they wouldn't have had the mess they got. And he said, and I was one of those. He shouldered that responsibility. So he grieved about that. I said, look, Bill, I get back, I'm going to get married, I'll come back, we'll sit down, we'll do this. Well, guess what? We never got to do it. I really hate it.
I know. Well, I was at lunch Thursday, and I was looking around, because there we are, Rick Reichert's there, Jody Davis is there, we got Feinberg is there, bunch of, it's a really good group. I think you've been to lunch with us at least once, haven't you, buddy? And, the Old Farts Club. And we, I was looking around and I said, where's Bill? And they said, oh, he's been hospitalized. I said, I didn't know. And this was Thursday. And then I find out Saturday night that he had died. And it was crushing. It really was.
Well, I found out a little detail about that maybe it's not as private. I was told somebody knows really well. I don't want to overshare, but apparently he fell.
Yeah.
He'd been sick. He had a heart attack, as you know. And he tried to get up, and his wife couldn't get him up. And he exerted so much effort, his heart gave out. And it's a terrible way for a man like Bill Carter, anybody to go, but struggling on the floor there to get up and not having enough energy to do that. So my heart's with the Carr family and what they've gone through with, but I'll always remember Bill Carr. It's a man of integrity, a man for the job. And I love the stat I threw out earlier. Steve Spurrier, who never took a shotgun snap as a player and took almost all his snaps for 4 years, including his freshman year, said in all those years, he never had one mishandled snap with Bill Carr.
Well, Bill was a great college football player. I mean, he really was. If there was a problem, is that he went to the NFL, he was too light, I think he played at about 215, 220 pounds. And this was an era, even in the 60s, the NFL was starting to get big linemen. I mean, I remember when Upshaw, Gene Upshaw and Art Shell, they looked at the left side of the Oakland Raiders line, and they were mainstays for about 10 or 12 years. They weighed 270 pounds, and we thought they were monsters. I remember the 76 Super Bowl, and Crittenden's out there with his buddy Al Davis, and he's talking about how the left side of the Raiders line was going to be the difference because they were just going to overpower those Vikings. And Shell and Upshaw were 270 pounds, but Bill went there at 220. And if he'd been about a 240 pounder, he probably would have had a really fine pro career, but he was just too light, but a great college player. And you can't emphasize that too much. We get hung up, buddy, on guys going to the pros. And sometimes we forget that that's a whole different ball game. You're great at your level, and it doesn't take away from your greatness that you don't make it at that next level. I've seen how many great high school players have we seen that never were as great in college as they were in high school. I mean, John Brantley and father and son, both of them lead their high schools to state championships, and neither one of them led the University of Florida to championships. Yeah. So, but that doesn't take away from the fact they were great. They were truly great players in their time and in their place. And I think we get hung up too much on this notion that to really be great, you got to go to the pros and be great. And not everybody's cut out for that.
I think you're right, Franz. And in a minute, we got Lorraine. I want to tell you about our I'm going to tell you about our friends at Renstar, and then I'd like you to share some thoughts on Torian Green, who's being honored.
Yeah.
And which will be a nice memories of the great days of basketball. You heard about that, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, he is officially a legend now in the SEC.
All right, stand by, and I'll come back to that, and you can tell us all about it to finish up the show tonight with Franz Beard. I want to tell you right now about Renstar Medical Research. Our good friends there have been supporting this program and supporting our community for a long time and continue to do so. We're so grateful for that, the folks over there. They have a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility right there in downtown Ocala with cutting-edge clinical research trials in areas like Alzheimer's and dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, and fibromyalgia, along with many other things that affect us in our community. Since their inception in 1998, Renstar participated in more than 700 clinical research trials, continues to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. If you'd like to be a part of these trials, some places you get compensated for time and travel. Go to renstar.net and find out what you have to do so. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Franz Beard, Torian Green.
Well, people don't realize this, but in the 2 national championship seasons, everybody talks about the starting 5, and the great starting 5 for 2 straight years. Part of the reasons they won it was they held that together. Only one player never missed a game. That was Torian Green. He was the glue on that team.
Mm-hmm.
If he had been injured, they did not have another point guard who could have handled the team, number one. And number two, I don't know that they would have ever had anybody who could have handled Billy. And Torian could handle Billy. And by handling Billy, I mean he could take it. Because Billy was tough on a point guard. Billy was extremely 2 times tougher on his point guards than anybody else. And Torian could take it. Even when he was a freshman, he could take it. What I love about Torian is this. He wanted to be a Gator. And even though he was Florida's 4th choice point guard, they wanted Darius Washington. They wanted other guys. And guess what? Torian ends up being the point guard because they whiffed on Darius. Darius from Edgewater went over to Memphis. They missed on the guy that goes to UCLA, etc. Torian ends up playing valuable minutes as a freshman. As a sophomore, he comes in here, and he was outstanding. And you look in that 2006 national championship game, he had 8 assists, didn't score a point, had 8 assists in that ball game. They decided they were going to take him they weren't going to let him shoot. Well, fine. He had 8 assists, and and the rest of the offense ran through Joakim Noah. They seem to forget that Billy could run his offense through any one of the 5 guys on the floor. And then in 2007, they beat Ohio State. And in that game, Torian and Lee Humphrey just killed Ohio State from the outside. I mean, destroyed them. But they also people don't look at what happened defensively with those teams. Those were great defensive basketball teams, buddy. And, I look back at Lee Humphreys. Lee Humphrey, everybody thought Lee Humphrey was too small and too slow. Turned out he wasn't. He was also a pretty damn good shooter. They thought Torian was too small and not strong enough, whatever, like that. Well, guess what? Those guys locked down every guard pair they faced for 2 straight years. I go back to 2006, Georgetown. They just totally took those guys out. 2000, they get Villanova. Randy Foy and the other guy they had that ate the Gators up the year before, they blocked them down, shut them down. They get to George Mason ate him alive. Same thing with UCLA. Florida, these guys were great, and they were a great tandem. Torian was the tough guy, though, and he was the leader of that team. And I'll tell you one other quick story. He was the imp. He was the guy that could get under. Whenever Joakim Noah's ego starts inflating like this, Torian was there with the needle to kind of let some of the air out and bring him down. You remember when Joe had the dance, with Vern, after the 2007 SEC championship game, and Joe puts on a show. Vern's there. Vern Lundquist is there, and Vern just absolutely howled with laughter. Everybody did. Joe put on a show. So we go into the locker room, and they have open locker rooms there, and everybody is over there surrounding Joe, talk about Joe and the dancing. Torian is about 6 feet away, 5 feet, 6 feet away. I'm one of about two people that's over there talking to Torian. Everybody else is surrounded. Torian looks over there and catches Joe's eye and says, "Hey, Joe. And Joe looks over there and he says, "You can't dance." He said, "Yes, I can. Did you see me out there? Did you see me?" And Torian says, "Joe, you can't dance." He says, "I can too. You're a hater." And he says, "Joe, you can't dance." And Joe is turning red. And he says, "But you can sing." Noah looks at him and says, "Yeah, I can sing." He says, "Joe, you can't dance, but you can sing." It's a classic case of the guy that ran the team knowing how
to push the buttons,
with
exactly.
The guys on his own team. It was a great scene.
Yeah, great stuff, Franz. As always, good job tonight. We'll see you back on the show on Thursday, if not before. Catch you on Sidelines or someplace on a sports talk show near you. Franz Beard. Don't forget, we're even Gatorbait. Go on Gatorbait and right now and sign up. He's worth the price of admission by himself. Great show tonight, Franz. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks.
Take care.